You just watched a video for the first part of Chapter 1, Section 4. I'm now on page 19, and on page 19, I'd like to talk about what you see on the screen. It mentions independent variable and dependent variable. Again, I don't know how you're keeping up with your vocabulary, if you are using flashcards, or if you're making and creating flashcards, or if you're using an electronic document or writing things down on paper and pencil, whatever that might be. Just make sure you're not blowing off the vocabulary. There are a lot of vocabulary in our semester, and you have to be well versed in them. You have to understand them, be able to use them, converse with them, manipulate them, whatever you need to do with them to use them in whatever discussion we're having. So I want to point out independent and dependent variable. You probably are familiar with an X and Y coordinate plane. I like to see information like this, where it helps me to organize, and we'll use this XY coordinate plane throughout the semester. But what we end up seeing is that our X is going to be the independent variable. In other words, you'll pick the number of years, or you will pick various and sundry things. And over here is going to be the dependent variable, or the Y. So X is independent, and Y depends on what you choose for your X. Also, there are some other words like explanatory and outcome. And so I'll go ahead and say explanatory over here. And then it mentioned outcome variable. But one I like to use is response variable. If you have an explanation, here's the response to whatever the explanation, sorry you can't see that, is going on. So a couple of things to keep in mind, and we'll look at this more later, but again, Chapter 1 is setting the stage. You're getting a good grounding understanding of the vocabulary. Make sure you have an understanding of independent and dependent as we move through our statistics information. Another thing I'd like to show you is it says in this sit-up study, again, I'm not reading everything to you. I expect that you're reading the chapter. I'm hitting some highlights. In the sit-up study, there were two groups. The group that received the special instruction is called the treatment group. The other is called the control. The treatment group receives a specific treatment, and in this case, it was instructions for improvement, while the control group does not. We will be talking more about a treatment and control, but these would be great to put on two separate index cards and memorize that treatment is the group that receives some special instruction and control group does not. Moving on down to the bottom of the page, that leads us into confounding. Confounding variables. It's one that's going to influence the dependent or the outcome variable. And here we are, that dependent or outcome variable, but was not separated from the independent variable. What in the world? So let's look at this. Researchers try. I hope you're not seeing all the volume stuff on my screen. I'll cut it off. Maybe, I hope you didn't see all of that and it covered up stuff for you. Researchers try to control most variables in a study, but you cannot control all, and in some studies it's impossible. For example, subjects who are put on an exercise program might also improve their diet unbeknownst to the researcher. So they're trying to find out if an exercise program is effective for like weight loss, but then the people on the exercise program also choose to go on a different diet. And so yeah, their health got better, but it was not due, and it wasn't weight, it was health, due to exercise alone. Then diet becomes a confounding variable that snuck in there and can mess up our study. Great words to know, but I'm jumping on over to page 23 and we're going to finish up this section. I just want to point out about faculty survey questions, and this can happen for any survey question. You should be assured that the questions are properly written so that they're not phrased to influence how people answer them. And so this is a great season. It's the campaign and election year. It's a great time to listen to how people are asking their questions and how they're stating their answers to their questions. But this is specifically talking about how you are asked the question. Like, do you feel that and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, no. Anyway, they need to be really generic or sterile. And you have to say just a very simple question like this one is, do you feel that it should build a new football stadium? And that might be answered question differently than, do you favor increasing the taxes that can build a new stadium? Both of those are a little shaky, but you just really need to keep it really simple, like, do you favor or are you for building a new football stadium? And not, don't you feel our school needs more spirit and we really need a football stadium? Don't you think? Keep all of that out and keep it real bland. In summary then, statistics when used properly can be beneficial in obtaining much information, but when used improperly can lead to much misinformation. It's like your automobile. If you use your automobile to get to school or work or to go on vacation, that is good. But if you use it to run over your neighbor's dog because it barks all night long and tears up your flower garden, that is not good. What a great way to end this video. Not really, but the idea is statistics can be awesome, but they also can be misused, as you saw in this section, and misleading.